We're stoked to be here for another one of our free Fundy webinar series. We're your hosts, Amy and Andy, Sunshine and Rain Photography. We're live from our studio in the beautiful city of Aurora Grande in the great state of California. And we are double stoked to be here with our bro, Chad Diblasio. We are, Chad Diblasio is of Chad Diblasio Photography and ChadDiblasio.com. Chad's going to talk with us today about his 5 keys for upselling albums in Fundy Designer. Number 1, prepare your clients. 2, explain the plan. 3, keep choices simple. 4, continually focus on the story, not only the details. And finally, number 5, take payment on the day of the design. So thank you so much for being here with us, Chad. We're really, really stoked to have you.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. I like saying the word stoked. I feel like maybe I overuse it, but I don't really care.
No,
we totally overuse it, man, all day.
I say the word bro probably 100,000 times a day, regardless of your gender.
I totally do. I actually will call Amy bro sometimes, and then
I call my daughters bro, so it's cool. It's cool, bro.
We do that too.
I'm cool with it.
Tell us about yourself, Chad. Give us the lowdown.
So I've been doing photography. I actually started doing photography for a 4-H project of all things. And then I continued it through college. I shot film because, digital cameras really weren't a thing. I had the first Palm. Do you guys remember the Palm Trio cell phone? It was giant. I had a camera on it and I was like, this thing is awesome. That was my junior year of college. So I was still shooting film to try to impress girls even through college. But I've had a camera in my hand probably since my mid-teens. And it was just one of those things that as I grew and as I learned about business that I wanted to do more. But I've had, like you guys, a number of really incredible people in my life that have helped me understand what it is we really can offer people. And also just on the business side, how to make things really great. And so I'm excited to be here to kind of bring 20 years of life into a 30-minute session.
Rad.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So you are going to talk to us about selling albums to clients.
Yeah.
And you always prepare your clients for that. So what does that look like?
Yeah. So the preparation is, I would say, the key to sales. If you know much about sales or you've sold stuff before, it's all about expectations. And so we have basically 3 key touch points that we make with every single client in regards to albums. The first being during the consult. When we book clients, if they can't personally come and sit in our office on the phone or over Zoom, I'm saying, we show them albums and we talk about photos consisting in an album. So it's kind of when we start culturing them very early on that when you see wedding photos, they go in an album and they go on the wall rather than just we have a digital gallery or here's what the photos will look like. We start showing them stories. And I tell them stories of the people in the albums. So one of the albums that we have is Diana and Tyler. They were married up in Cleveland, and I let them look through the photos and kind of get engrossed in that story. And I almost always say this line of some sorts of isn't it weird how you can get kind of emotionally connected to someone that you don't even know looking at their album and holding their book of their story in your hand, right? It's very similar with your story. We start that preparation with that first key touch point of photos are for a story. The story of your wedding day goes in an album so that you can hold it and touch it and pass it down to generations. The second touch point is a couple days after the wedding. We actually send them a one picture as a hey guys, we're so excited to tell you your story with your photos. Here's one you can share of a moment that we felt was just really perfect between you two. And I give that to them rather than being the one who shows that online. But I also include these two pages. So if you want me to show those real quick.
Go for it.
Yeah. So I share with them this page, which is just it's the prep for what we do on the day of the reveal. It's a little bit about their story and how we why, kind of the process of why we build albums. But inside of there, it says like, we'll apply your package credit towards the original design plus additional photos that you need, and as little as 250 down. So it's explaining to them the process through a story. And then we add this page on. That's just some add-ons, things that you guys might want to look at. Here's parents' albums. It includes the first 60 photos. Additional photos are $35 per photo, and additional volumes. It's just one of our key tenets that like, you can't sell things you don't have, but you also can't sell things you don't offer. And so I kind of never try to limit them. I just kind of give them options in a simple format that would allow them to get more if what they want is more.
Awesome.
So those three, and then the third point, or I should say the third point is like when we, right before they're revealed, the day before or 2 days before they're revealed, we do kind of just an excitement call. Hey, just wanted to make sure, everybody's on board about what we're doing and how this is going to go. I can't wait to see you. It's a real quick call. If I can't get them on the call, they just are too busy, I'll shoot them a text and just personalize that excitement of like, here, just want to remind you guys what we're going to do. Here's the process, setting those expectations of what it is and what it's for, kind of the how and the why, over and over again in those 3 ways.
That's awesome. A comment from Facebook. What's up, Chad? From Rachel.
What's up, Rachel?
Edgington. And a couple people on the chat. Hi from Heidi. And hi from KB, who's in Phoenix. I'm curious, Chad, you have definitely sort of dialed in this preparation for your clients, explaining to your clients what's going to happen. How is that different? Like, how are the results different now from back when you didn't do that?
Well, so before I did that, what would happen is we'd come to the reveal and I knew what was going on and I'd lay it all out and I'd say, okay, your upgrades are $2,500. And they'd say, oh, that's a lot. It was really like, it was like going to a car lot and expecting a $5,000 car, and they showed you $25,000 cars and you had no clue that was going to happen. It's not because you couldn't afford a $25,000 car or you didn't want the things that the $25,000 car offered you. It was literally, you had no preparation or expectations for that. So I just found that over and over again, people got to that same, and a lot of people who haven't done this probably get there with their clients. It's like, I tried it and it was weird. I felt so awkward because they didn't know what was going to happen, and it's like springing it on them. And what people typically, when they say things like, oh, we tried IPS and it didn't work, that's what they mean. Is like, they tried to do what they thought they were supposed to do and their clients didn't want it because of the process, not because of what they were offering.
Awesome.
So I've just found that 95% of the time, we still have the one random one every now and then that's like, yeah, we don't really want this. But for the most part, it's not me telling them what I want to do. It's just me reassuring and guiding them to a choice that I think that they want. And then them kind of agreeing with it and knowing how to do it.
Awesome. And you also, one of your points is to keep the choices simple.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you guys?
Quite literally, the reason we do the reveal is not to make money. Making money is a subset of offering a better service. And what I found is that when we sat down and said, okay, guys, here's your wedding photos. Here's 5 or 6 or 800 photos for you to look through. Have a good time. It was like, cool. And a month later, I'd check back and I'd say, hey, did you guys get a chance to look through your photos? And they're like, yeah, I mean, here and there, like, we've just been so busy. Yeah, we sat down and we watched it. It's just been, we just had so much going on, and we're buying a house, or we had a baby, or my mom, decided she was moving, or whatever. Life happens. And so keeping the choices simple during the reveal, I know that what we're doing is a big deal. And if I can say, okay, so right now I need you to make this choice or this choice. Okay, next I need you to make this choice or this choice. We go page by page by page so that people don't get overwhelmed. Because what happens is when you have an overwhelm of choice, and there's tons of TED Talks and stuff about this if you guys are interested in this topic of selling. But like, when you keep things simple, you don't say, what do you want for dinner? because a lot of people say, I don't know, like whatever, man, I'm just hungry. If you say, hey, are you in the mood for like Mexican or does pizza sound better? They're like, well, I don't know, maybe Mexican, but maybe Greek. Okay, so cool. Here's 2 Greek restaurants. This one has like great gyros and this one has awesome salad. Which one of those do you want to do? Like, well, gyros sound really good. Sweet. So we can go between 6 and 6:30 or 7 and 7:30. Which one do you want to do? Right? It's just, it takes complex things and it makes it simple so that they can actually make a choice and they don't feel like, I don't know what to do. You walk them through step by step because you're the professional. You've done this a lot. You've practiced. You know how to use the software. The software is really intuitive. And so many times people say things like this, man, that was so easy. That was so much fun. Like that software makes it so easy to do this. Well, yeah, part of it is that I keep it simple even within the software. I don't say like, here's 50 photos. Which one of these do you like? I say, here's the 10 photos, which comes down to editing and how many photos we present to them and giving them 400 or 500 photos instead of 800 or 900 photos. They actually don't want 800 or 900. They want 2 or 3 from each little moment that really matters. And that keeping that simple for them helps them and allows them to make a choice rather than being overwhelmed.
Okay, awesome. So thinking about that of keeping things simple, tell us how Fundy helps you make it easy for your clients.
Yeah, let me screen share with you guys because I was just working on this album for a reveal for later today. Is when they watch through the slideshow, can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we watch through the slideshow,
hold 1 second, Chad, because there's a slight lag. So if you give it like 5 seconds, it should pop.
Okay. I'm gonna pull off the guides anyway, so you don't get stuck on those.
All right, we're up now.
Okay. So when they walk through this page and they're like, oh, okay, so here's how the story goes, right? And then that other point says focus on the story, not just on the details. It's like, we don't want to just pick photos to put in their album that are like, these are the prettiest photos we sold. These are the prettiest photos that we got. This goes back and this leads into a totally other subject that we're not covering today, but like, how do we get to know our clients and how do the phone calls that allow us to know that this is an important moment for them go, is when they get to this part, I say, okay, so here's the other 5 or 6 photos from this time frame, right? So we've got a couple, and we can look at this one, we can look at this one, and we can kind of look through these 5 or 10 photos for this part of the day. And I say this the same way every time. Are there any on this page that you want to add or take away or change? Or those look good? I like what's in here. I like what's represented. This looks great, right? So how we keep this simple in this range is that we say, okay, look right here, right now. Look at these 10 or 15 pictures. Here's a couple more. I give them a little laser pointer in the office and they can point to the screen. Do you like this one or this one? And I don't say like, oh, we can do all these in black and white, or we can do them on color, or we can add, like 7 more pages, or we can take one away. I literally say like, here's what we have. Do you want to add, change, or add, take away, or change anything on this page? Or do you like it the way it is? Oh, no, it looks great. Actually, let me see this one of my sister. So I'll throw that one in there, right? Okay. No, actually, I like it the way it was before. Okay. Control Z. Next page. Okay. And then next page. Next page. Okay. So Sierra, these are the pictures of you getting your gift from Ryan. These are the pictures of it. Here's your mom helping you put it on with your sister. There's 5 or 6 other ones, or we have them in black and white. Which one of those? Do you like it like it is? Oh, yeah. It looks great. It's really simple and Fundy, rather than like switching them all, even though my black and white looks a little different, for them to see these in black and white just as a whole. You know what I mean? Like we can just switch them out for black and white, just all as one, just right there. So it's like, it's really easy for them to be able to see the options, but I don't give them more than 2 or 3 choices on any one page.
Great. And what, when you were just kind of like mock talk, kind of like saying what your client might say, you were just kind of saying like, yeah, no, that looks great. Just like that. Now I'm guessing the majority of the time, the better you know your clients, the more you talk to them about what they're looking for, what you want to photograph for them. Obviously, the closer you get to that, the less likely they're going to even make changes.
Yeah.
So how much time do you spend, would you say, like when you're doing a wedding, like how often are you, contacting your couple?
I have kind of that same 3 points of contact with everybody in the wedding is like, I try to talk to the parents at least once if I can get them on the phone, just to see what the day looks like from their point of view. And what they're excited about for their kids. I touch base with the clients at the consult in person. We do a week before phone call. And then we try to touch base at least one other time between that time frame, just to see how things are going. And it's really truly that. How's everything going? You know, what's come up, you know, with the plans and what you guys are doing. Have you added anything to it? And those are really the touch points that just kind of allow us to see, you know, you guys do weddings a lot. If you're into weddings, you kind of see how the flow of the day goes. What I'm really asking for is like, what are the parts that you're looking forward to the most? What are the pieces that like Sierra is not an outwardly emotional person, but she got very emotional when she saw her dad, because her dad was like asking her questions and just looking at her and saying how proud of her he was. Well, I kind of knew they had a good relationship before, because she said, I'm so excited for my parents to be there and like just to be part of this and to see my dad before the aisle. Like, I knew that was something important. Obviously you can dig in as deep as you want, but I just knew that was something I wanted to watch specifically with her. And also on the other side of that, I know that the photos of those things are going to be more important than the things that just look pretty. And it gives me a way, kind of a tool for them. If I see that they're kind of getting bogged down in the details of like, oh, I don't know if I like my face in this one, or I don't know, the dress is a little weird. I'll say, well, what do you see in this photo? You know, when you see this photo, what does it make you feel? Because that's the neat thing about photos, is that when you see them, they make you feel something. And then when you start getting nitpicky about the details, sometimes you miss what the photo actually represents to you. And that over time is going to be more important than how you looked.
So thinking about that idea of continually focusing on the story, Chad, how does Fundy help you with that aspect?
Even in the layout choices, I think if you just look at the layouts, I think all of the layout choices are like big and picturesque, right? They're all, to me, this is the way albums should look, is like 2 or 3 pictures a page, maybe 3 or 4 on a 10x10, because it focuses on the pieces that are important. So details, you know, there's a detail page in here, I'm sure, that's got like 15 or 20 pictures on it. But like, this is the most scrapbooky looking photo in the entire thing. And on a 10x10, these are still going to be close to like a 3x5 or a 4x6 size. It allows me to really show off the story, even in the layouts and the ways that we show the photos. But in the way that I'm able to present them to my couple is like to be able to click on this button and show the album instead of the photos. There's a lot of things that have to work for this to be simple and seamless and easy for them to see. For me to be able to go in and just say, I just want to show the album, and I actually play my own music. So I don't want music, and I want them by name, and I want them to show for 5 seconds, and then click play, and I'm ready to rock. That's a really easy way. That's my niece, by the way. I just didn't change the name. That's a really easy, amazing way for me to just say, I want you guys to be able to focus on what's important. And so the way we're going to help you do that is we don't show them a slideshow of all 400 photos. We show them their photos as a story, as an album. To be able to do that in like clarity and easily, you know, like to make corrections and additions and then jump right back into the slideshow of their photos of the album, that's a huge deal. It's kind of like, it's what makes this process work for them, is we can just go back and forth very seamlessly between seeing the photos as photos and seeing the photos as a story, making the corrections to that story that we want to see, and then go right back in and say, okay, here's what your story looks like as a day. And that leads right into the end of, okay, how quickly do you guys want it? You want to go ahead and pay for everything today, or would you like to do like a 2 or 3 pay? Here's what your total is, right?
Awesome.
So
that's the first thing. So when they come in for their album design consultation, you're showing them a slideshow of the actual album that you have pre-designed.
Yeah, that was like it was a testing. It was a choice, but it was also like well, Does this work better? Does this work better? What happens when I do this versus this?
Yeah.
What I found when we didn't just show them the album and when we didn't prep them as like, this is what you will see. There's lots of other photos. There's pieces and parts and like, you know, the picture of your mom and the picture of your shoes and the things that you want to have as your wedding, but not necessarily in the album. It helps them to clarify what it is they're doing with their photos rather than just we had photos taken, right? Because it's, and we use this example a lot, is like I have 4,000 photos on my cell phone. There's probably 20 or 30, maybe 50. I would be heartbroken if I lost, you know. All the other ones are just photos. They're just things that I have. And they're not like, I don't want to get rid of them, but they don't have as much value to me. And so this is the process that you're paying a professional to walk through with you. It's kind of like how we talk about at the end of the day, like, I mean, I'll stay all night with you, man. If you want me to be there until you leave, totally cool. But do you want to pay a professional to watch you dance for 3 hours and to take photos of it? If you don't, then let's not do that. Let's not make that part of what we include for you, because it's, to me, that's why they're hiring me is I help them clarify. Like if you hired an interior designer would not do everything you wanted to do. They would help you to declare and kind of clarify what it is you actually wanted and what you wanted from hiring them, so that you could be efficient and you could have clarity on it. And that's kind of what I see our process in this is, this isn't just about taking photos. This is about taking photos of a day in their life that is a preparation for a marriage, and a wedding is the beginning of that. And that story is kind of like sets the tone, or it can kind of set the tone for what they expect from it. And this is just the best way we can do that is, this is your story of your wedding day. It doesn't make any sense to have a photo here and a photo there and a photo here. If they want to see a photo bigger, it's really easy to like any of these photos. If they want to see this one, they're like, hey, let me see that photo of my parents. I'm not sharing anymore, am I?
Nope.
Just kidding. I'm just going to show it to myself. If we're on this page, can you guys tell me when you can see it?
Yeah, give it like 3 seconds. Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, not yet. This way. 4 or 5.
I'm on the page of family photos, and we're looking through these photos, and they want to see. Yep, they want to see. Okay, hey, actually, can I see that one of my parents? I can click on the photo in the design and double click on it, and it pulls it up in the Finder. So then I can even like zoom in from here. We'll do this a lot. It's like zoom in on individual faces, look at individual people. What does this change? Can I see the other one right beside that? Well, this one tells me right here in Fundy that like this is one that's used, right? This is one that's in the design already. So I'm able to like pull that up and look at those to tell which one it is, and then hop right back over into the design. That is, I can show them individual photos if they want to see bigger or like see details in the photo, but it's kind of one of those things is the photo makes sense in the story, not just makes sense, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. Are you doing, for your wedding clients, I know you do a lot of portrait work as well. Are you doing art for wedding couples as well?
We do, and it's one of those things that it's kind of the album is the first choice or the first kind of priority. Yep. We show a couple designs after we're done designing the album, and it is basically kind of one of those, okay, great. Here's your album. Here's your story. Where do you guys want to display these in the home? For weddings, it's not because it doesn't work. It's just a matter of prioritization for us right now. The priority is on the wedding and the wedding design. And we do about 6 to 10 albums or 6 to 10 clients a year when it comes to weddings. So it's more of here's a beautiful design that we picked out, and where do you guys want to design this? And we'll walk through a few of those after, but I try not to cloud the vision of what it's for, or try to make them make too many choices. So it's usually with weddings, it's an add-on rather than like this is always something we do as well.
Right. So, and that probably comes out more in the conversations leading up, I'm guessing. People come in, if you already know they're going to want something, you'll have it ready to go.
Well, yeah. And I will say this, we sell a lot more of the wall art from the engagement session, and the album is for the wedding, simply because I hear this all the time is like, I don't really want like wedding pictures hanging up in my house forever. Right. because it's a day, not the emotion. And honestly, that's one of the ways we present the value of the connection sessions, the engagement sessions, is we want to create artwork with them that like, this is the reason we fell in love. And it kind of identifies the story of who we are as a couple. The wedding day is the wedding. And here's how we contain that as in the story of an album. So the other side of that is what we'll do is we'll say volume 1 and volume 2. So volume 1 of the album is for the engagement session. Volume 2 is for the wedding. So we'll put up a couple pieces of artwork in the home from the engagement session and do an album. And then the volume 2 of that album, which matches, is for the wedding. So we have an engagement session and a wedding, or a connection session and the wedding, kind of as bookends of how our story started and the day of our wedding.
Nice. That's I really like how you word that. About, when you get that sort of objection, you don't want wedding photos hanging up in your house. And that's why you put the photos up from the engagement session, which is what they will, usually look like, as opposed to in a wedding dress and whatever. So that's a really
right. And a lot of times you'll have a little bit more freedom with the engagement session, the connection session, to be able to have kind of like to make artwork rather than like taking pictures of moments that happen. Right. And it's even, to me, it's even more, it's like, that's how the day is planned. You're there to document what is happening. You're not there to create things that happen necessarily. Right. So you'll have a lot more time during the engagement session, even to plan out like what's something that's important to you as a couple, and your story as being in love together and what made you want to get married is like, it's really cool and easy to create artwork from that in the engagement session that's going to hang in their house. That doesn't look like, I'm a big fan, which I know you guys are too, of making artwork rather than just making like, this is what we look like and put it on our walls. Right. It's like, here's what it feels like to be us. Here's what it feels like to be in the life and the love that we have right now with our significant other or our family. Translating that into artwork that we can put up with them. It's always felt more natural for us to be able to do that with the engagement session, because that's kind of what the whole point of doing the engagement session is to us, is let's celebrate the connection you guys had that made you want to plan a whole entire day with your family and get married.
Yeah, that's perfect. Amy's got a question from Facebook for you, bro.
Okay, cool. The question is, can you please explain again, how do you upsell?
So you have to understand the upsell doesn't happen at the reveal. It happens way before the reveal with those 3 points of contact, with at the consultation talking about and helping them explain to you why an album is important. So one of the things we always say in coaching that I feel like is a big deal for people that don't like to sell is selling is not convincing someone to buy something. If you're convincing someone to buy something, it is the exact same methodology that you use when you control people or when you manipulate people. And that's not what we want. We want people to sell things in this way. Selling is persuading someone to buy something that you're convinced of, but for their own reasons. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I am convinced wholeheartedly that an album of a wedding is the best way to pass on the emotions and the feelings and the story of the day for you to sit and tangibly look through for the next year or two as you kind of build that first couple years of your marriage. And then if you have children, to look through that with them to kind of preserve your story, but also like immediately there is a very different feeling and connection with the life that you live when you're flipping through physical pages versus looking at photos on a computer screen. It's just different. There's tons of research, again, way off topic, but tons of research about ads and retention and what people remember from it and the action they take from it when it's printed versus seeing it on a screen. So I'm convinced of that, right? My plan in upselling you something is not to convince you that because I believe it. It's to show you that I believe it and to give you a way and a reason to explain why those kinds of things and that story is important to you. And I already know it is because they're getting married. They're having a wedding, right? I know it's important. This gives them a way to explain why it's important to them so that we can do what I believe the best job is in sales, is to do the absolute best for your client. And sometimes even when they don't recognize what that is to help them get there. It's not to manipulate them into something. It's to help them get to whatever the absolute best is for them. So that, in my opinion, that is the upsell, because they don't come in understanding that that's what it's for. They are expecting you as a professional, not only a professional photographer, but a provider of professional wedding services, that you know what the right things are to do. Your best plan of action is to help them understand why that's important to them. So the upsell, it happens before. It happens with that email that we send with the add-ons and how we're going to do this. It happens when we sit down at the very beginning and we explain to them, hey, here's what we're going to do today. I know you guys got the emails, and I know that, but life is busy. So here's how this is going to go. We're going to watch a slideshow of your album. It'll be the actual physical pages of your album laid out. We're going to walk through each page individually and pick out the photos that you want to either add or change or change the design on. And then at the end, we'll go over your totals and any other additions that you want to do, whether that be wall art or if you want to add a parents album copy on. And then we'll take care of payment. And then within 2 to 3 weeks, you'll have your album in your hands. Okay? Does that make sense? So that upsell is literally them walking through and designing their perfect album. And then at the end, I just look at the corner in the page of Fundy and it says, on this album, there are 130 photos. I say, great, here's how this works.
You made that seem pretty simple, Chad.
Well, it's practice. Like, I've done it so much that I think spending so much time, people spend so much time trying to sell things, and they are trying to learn here's the software I need to have, and but they didn't start at the beginning saying, why do I want people to have albums, right? Why is it important that you have a physical heirloom in your hands of your wedding day? Why is your wedding day even important? Well, I know why it's important to me. I know as a photographer what we do a lot, and what I did for 5 or 10 years before I started doing business this way was I said, I know what a great picture is, and I know how to take great pictures. So I'm going to do that of you. Well, what I found was that it connected to a point, but the point was it was still my photo of these people. When they started tying into what these photos are, and they basically started directing through my guidance what I needed to be photographing it, I joined my artwork with something that was really important to them, and they felt like it was prepared and created with them, and they care a lot more about themselves than they do about you. And so that upsell is not me selling them something, it is me providing something that they want. I'm just really, really good at helping them figure out what it is they want, number one, and then putting it together in a way that makes it feel easy for them to get that.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Nailed it. There is a question, and this isn't really exactly what you're covering, but you probably have a comment on this. Somebody's asking about adding a client's room photo in Fundy and configuring wall art mock-ups, doing that.
Sure.
And I think you do lots of wall art mock-ups.
Yep.
Comment on that.
It's probably the easiest thing in the world, because when people see it in their own space, and this is part of the phone calls we do, is like when they think about it being in their house, it's like when you dream about the car you want to drive. If you go to the car lot and you drive that car, it's like it's one step away from you actually owning the car. So when you can have them see what it looks like, and I can show them on my wall right here, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I drop my screens down where I do headshots, and they sit on this couch and they watch it. And with Fundy, I measure the orange line, and it tells them like this is physically how big this is. It looks just like this. So if you put this coffee table underneath of it, that's how big this is. Well, we take that one step further when we have the opportunity, especially with portrait clients, is I say, hey, take a photo, take your phone and I do this at the session. Take your phone like this, step back where you can see basically like the top and the bottom, if you can, of the wall, and tape a piece of paper to the wall, an 8x10, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and take a picture of it and send it to me. And I get all kinds of them. And then I put them up on their wall. But it's the sell happens because they are expecting it. They know what they're looking for. And even in that, this is what it looks like on your wall, not just on a random wall in your house. It's the wall you told me. This is where it's important for us to be able to have these feelings and these people and this emotion contained, so that when I come home, when I walk in, when people are introduced into our living space, that this is what's on display, that this is what I see, that this is what I am basically figuratively and physically surrounded by in my house.
Awesome.
So it's really easy in Fundy. It's really easy.
Yep.
You go to the rooms, you just click the little arrow and drop it in.
Great. Yep. So that's totally possible to do. Thanks for that question. You can absolutely do that. And there are even specific tutorials that Fundy will go through and show you how to do that.
Yeah.
So another question from Facebook real quick, and we just surpassed 30 minutes, so
we got ahead
pretty soon. But question, sort of maybe answered this in the beginning, but do you pre-design or have select the photos first? If you pre-design, do you include more photos than their package includes? Obviously, like we kind of went through, you do have the album all set. You show them the slideshow of that.
Yep.
So pre-design is something you do. Do you include more photos than their package includes? How would you answer that?
Their package never includes a full album. It never includes a full album for this simple reason. And this is exactly how I explain it to them. I don't know what your day is going to look like, and I don't know how many photos we're going to have that end up being super important to you. So what we offer, I was just pulling this up to show you, this is a client's room with a piece of paper on it, is what we show you on the wedding day is the story. I don't try to jack up the number of photos that I put in it just to make more money. I tell the story as completely as I can in the photos that we've captured from the day, also of the things that I know that are important to you. So when it comes down to pre-design, I pre-design what I call their dream album. These are all the photos from the day and how we think it looks the best. And then we walk through each one and they decide. But they either get a $500 credit that we include in their album that they are include in their package that they kind of are prepaying, or we include $1,000 credit that they're prepaying. Now, we have started to do where we are allowing them to kind of upgrade if they already know they're going to want a bigger album than the base album, which is our base album is $1,400 and it includes 40 photos. So they already know at the very minimum, if they only put 40 photos in their wedding album, the way that we have designed it, the way we set it up, they're going to have a $400 balance on the day of the reveal if they did the very base. So they already know, and it's kind of another one of those things. The reason we do it is not to make money. The reason we do it is not to screw clients out of getting what they want. It's the same reason we don't build wedding package and say, here's all our wedding packages, pick one. Because I feel like it forces people into something that isn't right to them, and that's not why I'm in sales. I want them to get, and I have the ability to design my business however I want. I'm happy to tell them what people, what a lot of people spend in this range, but it's not to get them in here to finagle them to spending more money. It literally is, this is the best service for you. And if that looks like $2,500 as a wedding package, then that's what we need to do. And it's up to me to decide if it's worth my time or the way that I've set my business up to be able to do that for them. Because I've had $2,500 wedding clients who that was their package. They included a $500 credit and had 4 hours of coverage with me, come in and spend $3,500 on their album because that's what they wanted. And that's what they wanted the photos for to begin with. It wasn't as important for them to have a big grand day. It was important for them to spend the time that they had with a few people that really mattered to them. And they wanted something to be able to remember that from, because to them, their life is the most important life that they'll ever understand. And so if this is what their life looks like to them, and that's what's important to them, then I want to be able to provide to them in my business setup the same kind of service and the same kind of profit for me that's going to be from spending 10 or 12 hours with a family that spends $6,000 on their wedding. Does that make sense?
Makes awesome sense, bro.
Okay, cool.
Let's, yeah, it really does. Makes sense to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's where it's my fault. If people aren't able to do what I need them to do, then it's a lack of direction on my fault or on my part. So if I want to make more money per client, I need to provide clients a way to do that, not just find clients who are ready to spend that kind of money. Because I would say probably at least half of the people we do business with don't come in the door ready to hand us thousands of dollars.
Right.
They come with an idea or an understanding of what they think they want. But when I come alongside of them and say, your life is as important and as spectacular, and the things that you spend, they'll spend $1,500 to have a phone that takes cool pictures. Like, why would you think that they wouldn't want to have a $2,500 album that's one of the most important things they've ever bought? Anyways, I can go on for a long time.
Yeah, I was getting into it there. I was
Sorry.
No, you're good, man.
I mean, I'm not sorry. I'm trying to be conscious.
No, it's awesome. I mean, I'm trying to think where I heard this before, but it's kind of that same thought. You know, if somebody's TV breaks, you know, they're going to go like find a way to get one tomorrow.
Sure.
So we're, you know, so
right.
It's a similar thing, but
yeah.
Goes, you know. So anyway, let's get to your last point. Let's wrap it up here. But your last point was
take payment the day of.
Yeah. So what's that look like for you?
Prepare them to make payment. I do the same thing. I teach with consults is like prepare them to make a payment that day, as much as you can to remind them they're going to be spending money and you need some of it today. But this is what happens when you don't take payment. And I'll tell you this way rather than why we do take payment. What happens when you don't take payment is in your brain, consciously, you have not made a decision. You have not committed to it. And you will have so much more problems. Not only people who say, you know what, we actually decided we don't want to spend all that money because their life is going to happen. Not everything happens big, but like they're going to go home and good Lord, we just got these fixed. And now we have to have you got to replace our dishwasher. We got to replace our sink. We got to get a new tire. We hit a thing on the way home. What you don't want to happen is you don't want them to have to recommit later. So have them sign a little piece on, and I put this in my contract on Fundy. It just says, this is personalized artwork. It can't be refunded. So it's our business. We can stretch things out if we need to make it work for people. But what I want them to leave with is a resoluteness that like, this is what we're doing and we've put money towards it. Now, obviously there are things it's not contractually bound about. Like if in Ohio, anything you buy, anything, regardless of what you signed, within 3 business days, you can return it. So like, it's not about locking them in, like contractually making sure I get my money. It's about helping them make the decision. And whether they put $500 or half the payment, I usually only offer it if they ask about payments, but they'll either do like a 2 or a 3 pay. Is if they put a significant chunk, 500 or more down, or 250 or down, or more down, it's basically just helping them saying, yep, this is the decision we made. So I always take payment the day of. Always, always, always. If they don't bulk at it, or if they don't make it a big deal, have them pay for the whole thing right now. How do you guys want to pay for that? Just ask that question. How do you guys want to pay for that? And then let them tell you, well, we can't pay for all of it right now. Okay, so how much do you want to do right now? Do you want to do like half down, or how much were you thinking? Right? So it's just a matter of, instead of like offering them options because now we're scared and now we're like, oh, they don't want it. We get weirded out and we're like, oh, no worries. I'll send you an invoice. Like, don't do that. Take your square reader and say, you have to confidently lead that direction with them. This is the right thing to do. Don't worry about it. Don't start freaking out now and let them get to there. It's the same things you would do with your kids. If your kids if they were learning how to swim and they were freaked out, you wouldn't, as a good parent, like let them back out of it and never learn how to swim. You would understand, you would kind of console them, but at the end of the day, you know where you're headed. You know where you're going. It's not a big deal. Then don't let them freak out and don't freak yourself out with them. Just take payment like it's a totally normal thing. And then if it's not, as soon as they leave, go, that just happened. Freak out and get online and tell your friends. So, but you have to do it. You have to lead the way just like it's normal, like you've done it 1,000 times, because then it just continues the trust that they already have in you, that you're confident, you know what you're doing. On the wedding day that you show up and you say, hey guys, let's go here. Not like, do you think maybe we should go over here? Maybe do you want to do this? I can tell you what's going to happen. They're going to lose trust in you.
Boom.
Boom.
Well,
that's why. Take payment.
Chad,
yeah, man.
You rock.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a blast.
40 minutes instead of 30. So
yes.
You
asked me more questions. I was ready to be done.
Chad will jump on. So that video went live to the Storyteller group. So there's a couple comments on there. So Chad will jump on there and answer your questions. If you have more questions, make sure you jump on that video, add a comment. Chad will see it. Where else could people reach out to you if they have follow-up questions for you, my friend?
Yeah, man, I love talking to people. If they want to just shoot me a message on Facebook, I'm on my DMs every day. It's one of the main ways that we connect with people to talk about coaching, and getting them these kind of results regularly in their business. But that's the easiest way, is just either shoot a DM to me on Instagram or on Facebook. I check those the most often. If you know my cell phone number, if you want to shoot me an email, those are a little less likely to be returned as quickly. But those are really easy ways for me to see who's got questions and who's going, who wants to learn.
Awesome. And Instagram, your Diblasio photo.
Yep, Diblasio photo.
And what's Facebook? It's just Chad Diblasio.
It's Diblasio photo also, or wedding photog.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, they can just look me up as Chad Diblasio.
Rad. Awesome, man. Cool. Well, really appreciate your time. And Amy, you got the outro.
Okay.
I need like a singing outro, I feel like.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for joining us, Chad, and we love you, and thank you everyone for watching and always tuning in. You guys are super rad. We adore you, and we hope you guys have a beautiful day.
Yeah. See y'all.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.